Most sales meetings fail, not because the product's wrong, the prospect wrong, or even the price is wrong. They fail because the meeting's badly structured. When there's no clear flow, no engagement, no direction, customers will check out. And good meetings don't happen by luck, they happen by design. In this episode, we're going to unpack exactly how to structure your meetings to win attention, build interest, create real desire, and drive action. Basically, it's using the AIDA model as your blueprint. Welcome to Sales Today, podcast for B2B sales professionals who want to sell smarter, lead stronger, and deliver value from the very first conversation. I'm Fred Copestake, sales trainer, consultant, and author of Selling Through Partnering Skills, Hybrid Selling, and Ethical Selling. Every episode, we dig into practical strategies you can use straight away to sell the right way and get better, faster, more consistent results. But here's a harsh truth. If your meetings are boring, confusing, meandering, you're not actually losing to the competition. You're losing to indecision. Structure creates clarity. Clarity creates momentum. So today we'll cover why many sales meetings fail, how the AIDA model gives you a winning framework, and some practical tips to keep buyers engaged and moving at every step. So why do most sales meetings fail? Well, as I've already said, it's rarely the wrong product. It's usually because there's no clear purpose, the conversation jumps around aimlessly, customer feels like they're being pitched to, not collaborated with, and there's no clear next step. When meetings feel disjointed like this, customers lose trust, lose energy, worst of all, lose urgency. So some of the bad habits that I've seen, and I know that people still succumb to in meetings, is the waffling intro. Yeah, this whole kind of we are great. Let me tell you about our company, how long we've been in the market, all of our products, map of the world, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, doesn't really work. That's self-centered, not customer-centered. Yeah, put this together with PowerPoint and smashing out tons and tons of slides. Again, not a good thing and not the best way to use our valuable time with customers. Valuable time. It could be ambushing customers with unprepared gotchas. So trying to do stuff to make them look silly, force them into a corner, make them feel as though they have to do something. Again, not smart. Or it could be ending with a vague, yeah, we'll be in touch. The meeting just kind of fizzles out, peters out into nothing. Yeah. If your customer leaves the meeting wondering what just happened, you didn't sell very well at all. You just confused people. Bearing in mind, people probably want to have the meeting to deal with confusion. So many of our customers are confused at the moment. You've not really helped. You've made the matters worse. So the meeting framework I favour is AIDA. And yes, it's a classic. It's been around since the 1950s, but I would argue it's not old-fashioned. It's natural psychology of decision-making, and it aligns with the way in which we think. So if we break down these elements, attention, interest, desire, action, we can see how it works. So first step, AIDA, it's about hooking people early. It's starting the meeting with something relevant, something sharp, something to get us off and running. Particularly if we have had a little bit of rapport building, a little bit of chit chat, small talk, it gets things happening quickly. So this could be something like an insight, a trend, a challenge the customer's facing. So we might say something like, 8% of companies like yours are struggling with onboarding times right now. And that's what we can explore today. To do that, I just need to ask you some questions, and the better response you give me, the more clarity we'll get. It could be something like, with new sustainability regulations kicking in next quarter, many of our clients are rethinking their supply chains. Let's see how that's affecting you. Let's do that. I need to ask you some questions, and the better response you give, the more clarity we'll get. Okay, so the first part of that two-part phrase was about them, their challenge, the thing that we know that they want to overcome that's going to be interesting for them, that gets them into the meeting, hooks them in. Second part is a statement of intent to say what's going to happen next. I'm going to ask questions, you're going to answer, and that's what's going to get us to where we want to be. It naturally moves us into the next part, which is interest, either interest. So we've given ourselves permission to ask questions so we can explore the issue deeply. So we can ask smart questions that pulls them into the conversation, gets them thinking. I've said it on a lot of these podcasts, the salesperson is a sense maker. We use questions to help people make sense. The last episode was all about questioning. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to how we can use the 8 questioning tools to go deep and to help customers think. When we've done that, we can start to transition into the D for desire. This is where we start to make the future state attractive. We can paint the picture of what better looks like. They'll have told us this, so we can use their words, their goals, and we can start to talk about, how there might be some quick wins and how there can be some longer term gains. So we're starting to just give what the solution might look like to them. It's a great chance to check whether what we're proposing is interesting because we can read the response. We can see, we can hear, they might tell us how that is landing. And then at the end, the action point, we end strong. We define the next step clearly. Don't be vague. Confirm what's going to happen and who owns that. I learned a brilliant way of closing from James Muir on a podcast, on an interview podcast, a couple of years ago now. And the language pattern he taught me is what I always use now. Does it make sense for us to? And you put in what the next step would be. The genius behind this, well, there's a lot of genius behind it, but it is a closed question. If someone agrees, brilliant, happy days, we do that then. If someone doesn't, or we can ask, what do you think the next step should be? Wherever we go with that, something is happening. We're clear about what that's going to be. So we always want to be agreeing the action while we're in the meeting, while we're on the call, rather than drifting into, let's follow this up later. Make it clear. So if you want to use AIDA to run meetings, here are some tips, here are some ideas and some tactics in which you can really make it work for you. So part one, number one, prepare your hooks. So research that relevant stat, that story, that market trend, that challenge that the customer is likely to have, and open strong. That's what gets us up and running. That's like pressing go to make everything else fall into place. And then script out your questions. Prepare them. Have 3, 5, few open questions and high gain questions linked to the customer's world ready. Don't be overcome with your own ego that you'll be able to build these as the conversation's going. Yes, you can, and there's no reason you have to stick to the stuff you wrote down, but having something written down, prepared, ready to use will mean you can focus on them, concentrate on the stuff they're actually saying. If you are going to use visuals, and I am a fan of using visuals, some people will say, oh no, never. If a visual helps people to focus, it helps us to structure the meeting, it helps people understand, absolutely, we should be using that. So have those ready. If you can draw the visual, so if you can whiteboard this and if you can create it in front of the customer, that's extremely powerful. That's another level skill, but using visuals, because we are visual animals, to me makes a lot of sense. If it helps, anything to help people understand, why would we not do it? Make sure we use summaries. So we talked about summary questions in the last podcast. So asking a question, saying, okay, so here is what I'm hearing. Is that correct? It's a kind of yes, no answer. Yeah, after desire. Here's what success looks like. So each stage of the meeting, we can just check what's going on and whether it's the right thing to move on. And then, as I've already talked about, the close, own the close, propose that clear action. Does it make sense for us to confirm that, either what you said or what the response is, if they said no and you ask them what they think the next step is? I mean, it's a little bit like a story, actually. I mean, storytelling is a hot subject in sales at the moment. But what we're doing is we're hooking someone in, we're getting them involved, we're painting a better picture, better future, and driving the next step. So, little thought. When you finish a meeting, would your customer be able to clearly explain what happened, why it mattered, and what's next? What happened, why it mattered, and what's next? If they can't do that, your structure needs tightening. The AIDA structure will help you to achieve that. And ultimately, those things are what's going to help you drive the sale forward. So let's just start to wrap up. Wanted to keep these short and sweet, always aiming for the 10-12 minutes. So today we covered why lack of structure kills good sales meetings, how AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action, maps perfectly into buying psychology, and a couple of practical ways that you can bring into that to make every meeting count. Okay, so if you're listening to this series of podcasts, these new solo type episodes, you'll know there's an action at the end of them. It's the whole point of keeping these short, sweet, and with something for you to do to make a difference. So the action in this case is, for your next meeting, write your attention hook. Prepare 3 interest questions. Visualize the desire story that you'll tell, where you think it's going. Now, if it doesn't, you don't tell it. But if it's gone where you predict, you'll have something that you can use. And then define your action outcome. Does it make sense for us to, and have that ready? If that is where it goes. Now, don't force it, but if the structure is applied, it's more likely to go to plan. When you run your meeting to a plan, just look at how much better the conversation flows. This is not manipulative, it's about preparation, and it's about doing what naturally works, but because we've made the effort to think about it, it'll work better. So if this episode has sharpened your thinking, hit subscribe, share it with a fellow sales professional, connect with me on LinkedIn, take the scorecard that's in the show notes, which will also help you to think about how you're doing stuff. But I'm Fred Copestake. This is Sales Today. Until next time, structure your meetings, structure your success, keep selling the right way.